Hey, welcome to the David Carmena show, and I am still in the office, guys. You know, the last couple of days we've had uh, we haven't had that many positives to talk about. We had the drama with the debt ceiling. We've had the Biden come out and point fingers at the Republicans. We had Republicans come out and point fingers at the Democrats. We've had all these guys talk about the debt ceiling. What are the ramifications of the debt ceiling? We're going to have something positive today. I'm going to give you guys some positive information today. But before we get started, I want to salute my number one guy, my number one contributor, Christopher Williams. Salute, brother. Thank you for coming into the chat. We're going to talk about the ability to buy a house tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about how to get that American dream, get that part of the American dream. And to get there, we're going to go through this report that a lot of people don't talk about, which is the CPI report. But I want you guys to understand that it's all about buying that house. That's what it's about. It's about buying a house. It's about being part of the American dream. And again, Christopher, thank you for the $2, $1.99, the $2. You hit a brother up. You show a brother love every night. I appreciate you. Thank you, Christopher Williams. Hold on a second, though. I'm gonna do something right now, Chris, before I forget. Give me a second. Give me a second, Christopher. Let's do this right. Let's show you some love here. All right. So I have this dream. I remember when I was growing up, and I was one of the lucky ones where we actually owned our home. It wasn't much. My dad married my mom, all these kids. We needed a home. We was renting and we moved from this 2-bedroom shotgun house. I'm not sure if you guys know what a shotgun house in Louisiana is. It's one where you go in through the front door and you can see from the front door to the rear door, you can see all the way through. The idea is that you can take a shotgun, shoot it in that house, and won't hit any walls, anything. It'll go straight through the house and out the back door. That's called a shotgun house in Louisiana. That's what I grew up in. It wasn't fancy. It was not fancy, and we rented. And I got my first house. It was in a white neighborhood. It was in a non-minority neighborhood. Let's say that. And it wasn't that big, but to us, wow. To us, it was everything. It was the first time that the family has ever been in a home that they own. It was that pride and ownership. It was the first time that we can go out and not have to worry about people knocking on our door, telling us to turn down the music, or you can't do this. They can't do that in your own home. You can't do that. You can't come to my door and knock on it and talk about, turn down the music here, or you can't do that in my home, in our home. It was the American dream. It was the American dream. Now, here's what I did not know. I did not know how to help other people get that American dream. If I would have known then what I know now, while we still would have bought that house, we probably would have made a little bit of better decisions. We had a porch. No, we didn't. The first house, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, very small. To kids, Christopher, it seemed like it was this huge house, but I'm sure now I would go back there and I was like, it may have been maybe under 1,200 square feet, you know, maybe around 1,100 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, no front porch. Well, a small front porch, not one of these large ones that kind of wrap around. I love that. I love that style where the porch wraps around. But it was white with like a brown trim. Wasn't black. It was kind of a brownish trim, and it was our home. Now, what it did have is it had one hell of a tree in the backyard. I was raking that tree forever. Forever. I hated that tree. I guess that's why when I buy homes now, the first thing I do is cut down them trees. I won't be raking that one. That one I ain't gonna be raking. You ain't gonna get a brother out there raking that tree. I mean, the leaves was this high, and I was a small little kid. I mean, I was up to like here in leaves. No trees for me. But I didn't know how all this kind of ties in. How was the roof? The roof was slanted. It was a shingle roof. It was kind of an A-frame home, and it was when we bought it. I don't think we. Let's see. We bought another home like within 7 years. We bought another home. My parents bought another home. By that time, I was in the military, and the roof, I don't remember doing a roof replacement. So I think that when we bought the home, the roof was in decent condition. When we sold the home, the roof was still in that basic decent condition. So, but it was our home. It was our home. You know, I grew up. It was near a decent high school. It was the American dream. Now, what I didn't know is how to make choices to buy homes and to buy a piece of that American dream, and how a report like what we're going to cover today, the CPI report, helps a person buy a home. Because the goal is to buy a home, and the goal is to be a homeowner instead of a renter. And this report that we're going to cover, that a lot of people doesn't talk about, the CPI report will help us do that. So you may ask, what is a CPI report? All it is, guys, is a consumer price index report. It has a couple of different flavors, and you're going to hear in this video that I'm going to play it's going to say things like the core CPI and some other things. I'm going to kind of cover that, but really the report that we have that's coming out that we're going to show tonight is the consumer price, the vanilla consumer price index report, and essentially it measures what people buy every day. It's like the shopping cart. It's items that we, the American people, will buy, such as food, clothing, transportation, and it measures that over time. That's basically it. And what happens is that the Fed looks at that report, and it decides how it's going to set its policies based on that report and other reports, to be fair. But based on that report, is going to set, well, do we have more inflation, which means that I have to raise interest rates? Or do we have less inflation, which means that I can lower interest rates? And remember, interest rates is one of the key items that is used as a tool as to what a person can qualify for a home. So think about this report as a gauge that the Fed Chair Powell uses, and he uses other stuff, but he uses it as a gauge to measure if he's going to raise that report, raise the interest rate, or he's raising the interest rate to slow down inflation, right? You raise the interest, if the inflation is high, they have to raise the interest rate to slow down inflation. Or if the CPI report is good, if it's a good report, then what they will do is they will lower the interest rate because the inflation index is lower, is manageable. The other point is that Fed Chair Powell said that they're trying to get to 2% interest rate. You got to remember that. Everything that they're doing with raising the interest rate and lower the interest rate is to get to 2%, 2% interest rate. This CPI report is going to inform whether they are on target to getting to 2% or whether the Federal Reserve is not on target. That's why this report is important. If you want to buy a house, that's one thing. But then also it is used for cost of living adjustment, right? It is used for like the government setting levels for people that are on Social Security, so that if the inflation is raised and this report shows that we have a higher inflation, then the government will raise the subsidies that veterans and other people that are on Social Security or on some type of fixed income, they use this report for that. And then lastly, as I mentioned, it's used as an economic health indicator. What does that mean? It means that, hey, do we have inflation, more inflation, or less inflation? These types of reports, that's why it's so important that we track that. Because if we have a good report, rates go down, I can buy a house. If we have a bad report, rates go up, and now it's more difficult for me to buy that house. So let's look at the report that came in today. I'm going to add this to the stream. And I want you to understand that the reason why everyone is sweating this report is because we're trying to get the inflation down. We're trying to get inflation down so that the Federal Reserve will pivot and start lowering inflation. So remember, I did a report where I told you guys that the Fed chair had 3 things that they needed to do, or they could do, right? They could raise the inflation rate, raise the interest rate. They can pause on the raise, or they can pivot and start lowering. So he's looking at these types of reports to understand what he's going to do next. Is it time to pivot, or is it time to pause? That's what we're talking about. Let's go ahead and play this report, and then we're gonna tie this all in to how a person that is ready to buy a house, if they can or cannot buy that house of their dreams.
Is that we had seen shelter costs abate in the month of March, and some economists had said that was just a one-off and that we were going to see that reacceleration. If you look at the longer-term trend here, what we are seeing is an overall deceleration. Yes, even though inflation sped up again in April, if you look over the past 3-month or 6-month trend, you do see a slowing in the rate of inflation. It doesn't mean prices aren't going up anymore.
Right.
They are. Right. They're just going up at a slower pace, which is good news for many Americans and good news for the Federal Reserve, which of course has been trying to fight inflation.
Yeah, and some of those core necessities categories, and thinking primarily in some of the energy spaces as well, a lot of people will be pleased to hear at least some of the month-over-month figures that we've continued to track here for gasoline and fuel oil. You did see in fuel oil at least a move lower by about 4.5%. Energy services, that moved lower by about 1.7%. It looks like with utilities, particularly gas services, that down by about 4.9%. And then additionally here, kind of looking through some of the other figures here, as we talk so much about medical care, it's interesting to see that that's still moving higher, but just barely here. And I think the headline there is that it's not moving higher as much as it was previously. I mean, you think back to January 2023, where that moved higher by about 1.1%, at least in this most recent month, looks like it only moved higher by about 0.5%.
Well, it's interesting. That's medical care commodities. So that's stuff that you buy for medical care. Medical care services actually continue to trend lower, which so that's an interesting dichotomy. And part of that probably has to do with the bounce back from supply chain disruptions. So that's still elevating medical care costs for stuff, even as services are going down. Brooke, I know that you are focusing on the food side of the equation. What stands out to you?
Right. Well, food at home, unadjusted, up 7.1%, month over month, up 0.1%. And something that we've been following closely is, in fact, eggs. Some experts on the street really warning of a deflationary egg crisis, of that price coming down too fast because of ample supplies and lower demand, Right now, month over month, though, we're seeing just a decrease of 1.5%. Now, eggs largely volatile here, and so it's something that we'll continue to watch. But that number a bit less than I expected. I know that last month, eggs month over month decreased 10.9%. So this just a slight decrease rather month over month. But in addition to that, we've also been following California as that wet weather certainly took a toll.
All right. So basically what happened, guys, and Christopher, I'm going to answer this question for you. What is going slower and how that works and affects individual? Okay, good. Excellent question. What are they're talking about and how does that affect us? Well, what it is that we're looking at the overall inflation and then comparing the inflation for this month for previous months, right? So they saying that, well, if the inflation, I'm going to say, was or if this commodity that you're buying, they used eggs. If eggs was in last month was 12% over the previous month, right? Then and this month is 8% over the previous month, then it went down, and that's a good thing, right? As opposed to if eggs went up. So let's say you go, let's use that as an example. You go to Publix. Publix is in Florida. I'm not sure if they have a regional approach, but you go to Publix and eggs. I bought some eggs. I'm a big egg guy. I love eggs for breakfast. I have a carnivore diet. So what that means is I have super low carbs and I do a lot of protein and that type of thing. So if I go to Publix and eggs is $6 for half a dozen, and next week I go to Publix and now eggs is $4 for half a dozen, then my net effect is that my egg cost is lower and I have more money to spend on other things. And what this report does is give the Fed a chance to understand how the everyday consumer, what they buy, if they're spending more on utilities and more on food, that means that they have less money in their pocket to do other things. But if they're spending less on utilities and less on food, then they have more money to buy things like a house and buy things like a home. And they use this report to gauge all of that. It's kind of complicated. It's kind of mixed in, but that's what's basically what is going on. Chris, will it keep going down or balance itself after the president comes to? And okay, you're right on it. You're right on it. You're piecing everything together. I love it. You're piecing it together because it is interrelated. It really is. Last night I said that if we default, inflation will skyrocket. Okay. If we default, I don't care if it's the president that's causing the default, the Republicans, or the Democratic Party. It doesn't matter to the world and to the stock market. It does not matter who defaults. If we can't pay our bill, if we don't get this debt limit done, then all these CPI report and core CPI and all this other stuff, it doesn't matter because we're going to be that's going to be the least of our concerns. And being able to buy a house, you think the interest rates are high now? Wait till we default and the banks start tightening that credit. So all this kind of ties in. And so what we're trying to do is give you guys a glimpse on how all these dots kind of fit together. But the bottom line is that the CPI report came in positive. The inflation has gone down, or it was expected. And how that affects your interest rates is what we're going to bring our next guest up. She is an expert in kind of looking at these tea leaves to figure out how the CPI report affected interest rates and how a person can buy a house, how a person can get part of that American dream. So I am happy to add to the panel Joy, the mortgage boss. Hey, welcome. How are you doing? You're on mute.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can hear you okay. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So let's get right into it. Give us a little bit of your background. I see the mortgage boss. Tell me a little about that. And I want to know, how did the CPI report affect mortgage rates? And will it be easier or harder for someone to get a house?
So I am Joy Bailey. I'm a licensed mortgage loan officer, licensed in 13 states. I have been in mortgage lending for almost 9 years.
Wow.
And prior to that, I was a school teacher. So I like to tell people that I'm very good at taking complex subject matter and breaking it down into bite-sized chunks so people understand. The other thing about my professional resume is that I'm not just a loan officer. I actually have an accredited mortgage professional designation, which was provided to me by the MBA, which is the industry professional organization. And so that means that I have gone way above and beyond. It's almost like a master's degree in origination. You know,
No, it's not a PhD. I'm a PhD. It's
now
not a
the
PhD in
PhD
mortgage.
would be more of a CMB.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm not there yet, but you won't find loan officers that hold AMPs. Usually you're going to see that with people that work in the secondary market. You're going to see the higher up C levels, the behind the scenes, the people that's making the decisions. That's usually who you'll see that will have that. But I've worked at banks and non-banks, so I have a pretty good breadth of experience to be able to converse somewhat intelligently about this type of subject matter.
Well, that's awesome. So I'm going to answer this one because it's a business one, because the business depends on CPI report. The business depends on the CPI report indirectly, Christopher. What happens is that if the banks start tightening credit, then that's going to affect the business, because a lot of business people needs operating credit. We need operating money. We need money to grow your business. And a lot of that is loans from the bank or credit from the bank or a line of credit from the bank. So we're using that as working capital. And if our ability to get that working capital is compromised, or if inflation is going amok and the Fed Chair Powell keep raising that interest rate, that means that our ability to get cheap money to grow our business is affected. So indirectly, yes, indirectly, this CPI report has a play, is part of the overall calculus for the Fed chair to decide whether or not he's going to raise interest rates, he's going to pause the interest rate, or he's going to pivot and lower interest rates. It's all part of it. And if he raises interest rate, that's where the mortgage boss is going to come in and say how it's going to affect the person being able to buy that house. So tell us, what happened to the interest rate?
So exactly what we expected to happen. So I've tried the best that I can to follow thought leaders in the industry that I trust. One of the ones that's literally called a crystal ball award, where you forecast rates and you either really right or really wrong. But his name is Barry Habib. And 60 days ago, Barry Habib came on the internet with great fanfare and said, everybody mark your calendars for May 10th. That's when we're going to start to see things pivot. We're going to start taking a shift. And it was based on a lag. These data reports are not up to date. They're not based on what happened today. They're based on what happened 30, 60, 90 days ago. And so when things start to catch up and we start to get that data in, that is how they're able to make intelligent forecasts. And so this is exactly what we expected to happen. I understand that it is a very common misconception that, interest rates are up. I'm sorry, it's my child.
Oh, okay. I thought it was on my end. Sorry.
No, okay. He's literally been quiet for like 2 hours. He waits until I want to talk to start making commotion.
Oh, don't worry.
But the common misconception is that when we hear the news say, oh, the interest rates are up or they're down, that it translates dollar for dollar in terms of a mortgage interest rate. when in actuality, we already started to see this trend happen. This started a little while ago. So interest rates are continuing to tick down. And when I say tick, I literally mean tick, like ever so slightly, but after so many ticks, it's going to get to 0.25% and so on and so on. And you'll start to see this shift in the direction of interest rates in a more dramatic way toward the end of the year.
Oh, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing that we're starting to, you're seeing a kind of a shift downwards over time.
It depends on how you define good. It's all relative. In housing, I don't know. It depends on where you are. I will say 2020 interest rates are never coming back. Please, let me start there, okay? That is not going to happen.
So we're not going to have that 3%.
No, you don't want to have that 3% because that indicates that there is a problem. Like that means that the economy is doing very, very poorly and that they are practically giving you free money to make you spend it to stimulate the economy. Right. And that isn't what we want necessarily. So if you understand the economic cycle, whenever you start to see inflation, which is what you mentioned before, they're going to try to raise interest rates to slow people's spending down because in housing, we have a supply and demand issue, right? What happened in 2020, everybody went out. We already had a supply and demand issue and everybody ran out and bought 2-3 houses, right? It was amazing. It was great. The people moved from California to the East Coast. The people came from New York down south. It was amazing. It was great. It was awesome. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
Hey, don't hate on the brother. That was me. That was me buying up that stuff. Oh, don't hate on the brother.
You're the problem. You're the problem. Okay. And it was great. It was amazing, right? And we're playing Monopoly in real life. Well, this time, what we're going to see as interest rates tick down, we're still going to have a supply and demand issue. But along with them trying to cool the market, it's going to come some job loss. And so you have to consider that too. You're not getting this, windfall of money to run out and spend.
Right.
You're going to be hunkering down and minding your pennies.
Right.
We would hope, right? So I said all of that to bring us to, is it a good thing that interest rates are going down? And I said, I don't really know. In North Carolina, I live in Charlotte. It was one of Zillow's top, I think, 5 hottest markets of 2023. And I can tell you, we are having multiple offer situations.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
No, today, right now, like now.
Now?
We have multiple offer situations on homes.
Right.
Here in Charlotte, in Raleigh, which is a triad area, which is the research triangle part. So you have Duke University, Chapel Hill. So it's a lot of science doctors, very well paying jobs in that area. And here in Charlotte, it's a banking area. And we have multiple offer situations with interest rates in the 6s. So is it going to be a good thing if interest rates go down? It is if you can buy, because if you could get a house, sure. If you own a house and you've purchased in the last 18 months,
right,
you may be in a position to refinance,
right, right.
We have the highest consumer debt that we have ever had. That may be a good time to do a cash out refinance and debt consolidate.
Okay, let's hold there, because I want to acknowledge the Real Provider Network. Thank you, brother. Thank you for coming in with that 20 spot. And shout out to the mortgage boss, Dave. I'm learning so much from your content. I appreciate you. Is the next month or so, I'll be hitting you up for a consult. If you do that, I'll do it next month. I'll be doing it next month. Hey, listen, that's what we are trying to do, is that we're trying to connect the dots. And, the mortgage boss is throwing things that I didn't consider, because I'm looking at it from an acquisition. I'm looking at getting property and interest rate from a business acquisition standpoint. But Joy said what she said. I didn't even consider that now it's the supply. It could be a supply and demand issue. So even though I have the ability to buy a home at 3% or 4% or 5%, if there's no homes out there because all of them bought up, now we may get into that situation like we was in where we have to have 20,000 over asking price or something. So even though on the surface it seems like it's cheaper, my actual cost to that home may be more expensive. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So again, we have a huge housing deficit. I believe I read it was 6.5 million units.
Mm-hmm.
You can't build 6 million houses in 90 days, you know.
Yeah.
It isn't going to happen. This is our new normal. This is where we are. This is where we're going to be for quite some time. But like I said, when you start thinking about the pool of buyers that are going to enter the marketplace,
right,
it may not be as overwhelming as last time because, again, we're talking about job loss.
When we talk about that pool of buyers, the Real Provider Network, old boy's making all kind of money over in his channel. Old boy putting out that content. I mean, I see him all the time streaming, putting out that great reaction that what men, high value men, whatever that term means nowadays, he is really doing it big time and coming in and salute, helping a brother out, helping the panel out, providing that content. He is, like I say all the time, I appreciate you. You coming in almost night after night and showing your love. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you know what? When you come in next month and do that consult, hey, listen, we'll talk about it. Okay. I'm going to have more the mortgage boss up here with me, and then we're going to see if we can help you out in any way we can. Salute to you, brother, and thank you for dropping by. We have 10 Plus Sound. He's here. Salute.
Hey, 10 Plus.
10 Plus be all over the place. Thank you, man. We got some salute going. Christopher Williams saying, what happens to Sally Mae in 2009? How will it affect how that affects or what we can learn from that? Okay, so we're talking about when the crash came in back in 2009, and we kind of alluded to that a little bit when the market crashed that last time. Were you in the game then? Were you playing in doing mortgages during the last crash?
No, I was not. I do have some context. So do you mean Fannie Mae?
Yeah, that's what he meant. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to clarify. What happened in 2009? How will that affect? I mean, we don't underwrite loans. So, okay. So let's talk about it, right? So again, the biggest misconception that specifically millennials have. I don't know how old you are, Christopher, but I did a live stream a couple of weeks ago and I had a light bulb moment because I realized that in my adult lifetime, I'm 40 years old. I graduated college in 2005. When we graduated, they said, it's going to take you, 6 to 9 months to get a job, good luck out there. So get a job, whatever, working a little bit. You could buy a house, no money. You could buy a house with no credit. You could buy a house with no job. All of it. I was like, oh, sign me up. Get me one. Okay. Got a house, right?
Yeah, that was the stated income loans, right?
Yep. 2006. Me, Joy, telling my business, okay? Got me a townhouse. It was $127,000. I had it going on. And so getting the house, I'm in here. I got I think it was an 80-20 line, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm now seeing, let me jump out the story real quick. I am now seeing 80-20 loans entering the marketplace under the guise of 100% financing. An 80-20 loan is 2 loans. You get a main loan, and then it's 20. You get a main loan that's 80%, and you get 20%, which is your down payment. So in theory, you may see somebody say, "Oh, 100% financing, no mortgage insurance." Sort of true, but you could end up in some financial trouble. And they don't offer 80-20 loans to regular buyers. That's not a thing. So fast forward, me being a millennial, 5 years later, I think it was 5 years, in 2011, lost the house, gone. Okay, gone. So in 2012, bottom of the market, if you could buy a house with good credit, you could go and have anything that your heart desired. You could move to a neighborhood full of basketball players for $500,000, right? And again, at this point, I'm 29, 30 years old, bottom of the market. So now we're climbing up. We get to year 2013, 14, 15. Okay, interest rates are still 4.5%, 5%, you know. My whole life, that is what we have seen. So we hear the words recession and we think, oh, half-price houses. Oh, interest rates are supposed to be 4%. But the reality of it is our 39, 40-year-old selves, we just got punched in the face in these last 3 years because we didn't know anything about anything over 6.5%. When you start seeing 7.5%, 8%,
right.
Guess what, America? The average interest rate over the last, I don't know, 4, 5 decades, 6 decades is 7%. We don't know any better. And so this is the new normal. Will rates go down? Maybe 4.5%, 5%, perhaps, but they could easily go up again.
Right.
What we did not anticipate happening is interest rates doubling in a matter of 6 months. What we did not anticipate is home prices going up 100% over 3 years. Like you can't write that.
And so, and to tie into that, the reason why interest rates went up so fast, and to kind of full circle this, is because we had inflation, and Powell had to make those choices of raising the interest rate by 500%, which is 5%, right?
He miscalculated.
So
he miscalculated.
He overshot. He overshot because now because he overshot. I'm sorry.
He thought it was going to be transient inflation, and it was not. It was for real inflation.
It was
here to stay.
Exactly. It was, especially in the housing market.
Yeah.
And that's what caused those banks to fail. So, guys, I want you to kind of start thinking about this on a larger scale. All this stuff is interconnected. You know, when the Fed chair make a policy, that affects us. If he goes hard to try to cool off inflation, guess what? Now we have problems. We have repercussions. But even as the mortgage boss said, when he went too low, that causes a different set of problems. So Real Pivot Network has the question. He says, my mortgage is 3%, 3.2%. It's not worth a refi at this time because rates. Is that correct? Should he refi, is what Real Pivot is saying.
I mean, unless you feel the need to do some sort of cash out transaction for some reason, I mean, an equity line of credit would likely be the best choice. But no, and that's again why we have a supply and demand issue. Where he gonna move to? Where he gonna go? It doesn't make sense. To buy the same exact house that he has, he would be in a situation where he probably almost be doubling his payment.
You're right. So what about if I'm wondering if you're going to pull out that equity that's in your home, that may be in your home, so that you can buy an investment property, or use that equity in that to make money, use that money to make money. I'm wondering if is that something that you were thinking about? Let's see. I ain't cashing out. My boss. I'm not cashing out anything. So yeah. Now I think that what Mortgage Boss is saying is that now may not be a good time to try to pull anything out, because even if you want to go to another house, you are looking at that house costing is being so much more expensive. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, unless you're in a scenario where you are forced to move, you're moving from Florida to California and you want to purchase a house, or whatever the scenario is, there's always going to be people that are going to move. Like, it's just going to always happen. Like, interest rates don't stop anything. That's another thing that I think that I don't know the right way. That's another thing that I think that people that don't understand money struggle with. Real estate is not like going to purchase a new car. It isn't like going to purchase the new coolest purse that's trending. It's a finite amount of land. There is no choice. Like, if you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't buy a house because interest rates are 6%, or, oh, I shouldn't buy a house because what if the market crashes? Okay, so let's define crash, right? A market correction is 20%. You're not moving next year. You're not moving in 2 years. Most people stay in a house at least 5 years. So if you're saying, oh no, I want to use this to get wealthy, well, then you ain't moving in 30 years. You're not going to let the house go in 30 years. So think about housing prices 30 years ago. Do you think that your house is going to be worth less 30 years from now? That doesn't make sense. So we have to consider that whenever we're talking about purchasing real estate.
So that leads directly into his next question. He says, would you recommend 40-year mortgage or 15-year mortgage?
There is no such thing as a 40-year mortgage. It
may have been a typo. He may have meant 30-year.
Well, it may have been intentional. I said it like that because I want to be very clear. In the past few weeks, there have been news headlines that have stated that there is a 40-year mortgage option with FHA. It is not yet, anyway. I was in Washington, D.C. 3 or 4 years ago, and anything that you see happening now, they started talking about it years and years and years ago. 40-year mortgage for FHA is a modification. That means you have demonstrated you are having some financial difficulties in making your monthly mortgage payment on time. And so with a modification, it's different than a refinance. They'll just say, okay, you on Struggle Street. We don't want you to move out your house. Let's figure this out. How much can you afford? Well, what if we stretch it out? What if we give you a lower rate? And then they tack on whatever amount of money that they need to tack on at the end of the term. Okay. So they don't forgive it. It doesn't go anywhere. It just is a different way to restructure the current debt to make it more affordable in the now. So would I recommend a 40-year mortgage? No, because it isn't available unless you have an FHA loan and you are financially struggling.
This is a follow-up question. He says, why is 40-year mortgage an option now? And I think that's what you spoke to, is that that's a kind of a remodification on the 30-year mortgage, correct? Modifying a 30-year mortgage.
Yes, it is a loan modification. A loan modification is different than a refinance. They're for two totally different scenarios.
Okay. Now, Real Pavado said that that's a thought. I never thought about pulling out money to buy an investment property, but there's nothing but junk on the market. Okay. First, I'm going to address that, and it just so happens that we finished an investment property, and I'm going to show you my numbers. Joy, I'm not sure if you have some time. I know you have another stream that you got to go to. If you have some time, you can stick around. If not, I appreciate you coming in. I don't want to monopolize your time, but let me know what you want to do. So,
give me 1 second.
No worries. All right. Investing.
Hold on, real quick. Let me say this because I think I do have to go. That is a great idea. Using an equity line of credit can be used for the purpose of a down payment on an investment property. People do it all the time. I closed one last month. Family bought their house in 2020. it got crazy equity. They were like, okay, let's take this money, and they put it down. I think they ended up getting a house. I think the original house that they got was like $300,000. They just bought a $500,000 house from the equity that they have in this one, and they're just going to rent that house out.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. It's going to be rental property. Okay,
it's going to be a rental property. So you can absolutely do it. You can play that scenario so many different ways, but an equity line of credit is absolutely an opportunity and an option for assets to be used for the purpose of a down payment.
So I'm not sure how much equity you have in your home, but I'm going to do a case study that we just finished. We just put the house on the market yesterday, and that's exactly what we did, is that we use equity in our portfolio to buy it and fix it up. So, Joy, thank you. I'm not, you have to leave. You can stay another couple of minutes. Or what? You want to see a case study? You got to go. Well, again, thank you. Thank you for dropping by. You know, I appreciate your knowledge and dropping that game out to us. We'll take it from here, and I'll swing by. By the way, she's going to My Unsolicited Opinion. She's part of the panel over there. After we finish up here, go check it out. They do a great job on what's the topic for tonight?
Ebony K. Williams situation. You know, about average at best. So stay tuned. We speak a little differently than I was just speaking over here.
Well, you know, everybody have their own source of entertainment, and you know, sometimes you don't need a heavy topic. You can have a light topic, and you know, you can mix it in. So again, it's great that you can use both sides of your brain. Come over here and drop that serious mortgage knowledge, and get over there and drop some other type of knowledge. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
See you next time.
All right.
Let me drop you down. All right, guys. So just like the mortgage boss says, you can pull out equity in your home, or if you have a portfolio loan, you can pull out equity. Basically anything that you own, especially if you own, if there's equity in it, or if you own it free and clear, there's a ton of equity in it, you can pull it out. And I'm going to show you guys a case study of what we just finished, a project we just finished. Now, this is live, guys. This is real game that we just finished, and I can show you real bravado what my team and I just finished, and our potential income. I'm going to be very transparent in this, so that you can see some of the opportunities that may be in there. Now, remember, you got to look at what type of return on investment that you want. That's the key. Return on investment, and how much risk, how much return on investment that you're looking for. Now, if you buy $1 million property and you get a 10% return, you're risking a lot of money to get not that much return, to be fair, right? But if, let's say, you buy a $100,000 property and you get 60% return, which one is more risky and which one is less? Yes, overall, the dollar amount will be less, but your level of risk, how much out there are you going to put out there if it goes wrong? I'm going to give you a couple of real life scenarios of how this property that we just finished went wrong. But luckily, our risk wasn't that high, so we was able to sustain it. Just so happened in Florida, we had a hurricane come through, which shut down all production. We had to get new permits. We had the city had to go around and check all of the dwellings to make sure. I mean, life happens. Act of God's happen. So, real talk, real Bravado Network. You don't want to, when you're investing, especially if your first time or first couple of times, you definitely want to get with someone that can kind of walk you through it. I'll be happy to do it. I know you as from the Lead Network. I'll be happy to walk you through it. But I'm going to show you guys this particular project that we just finished and put on the market. It was a home that, let me get to it here. I bought this home for, this is the finished product. It's a nice little bungalow style or style home that is, you see, quite prevalent in Florida. It's a it was, what's the year on this thing? It's a 1963 home, concrete block. This type of home you can buy and live in forever. Put a new roof on it. I mean, the foundation is super, super high. We bought this home here. Show you real life numbers here. It was a situation where I bought, it was a distressed property. And I bought this home for $97,000. The $97,000 were money that I pulled out of it was a HELOC, actually. And so we used the money from that and other sources, investor money. We put some of our cash in, right? And what we did was, on the outside, we didn't do that much. We did minor landscaping. We gave it a whole paint job. I'm gonna see if I can find some older photos in here, but we did a paint job in and out. We kind of cleaned it up. Now we have a new, let me go back a little bit. We put on a new roof. So this is a brand new roof that we put on. Like I said, new paint, new doors, new windows. We landscaped, and all in the inside, we did a complete rehab. So there was a wall right here that we opened up to give this open feel. We put an island right here. This is brand new. And we basically modernized. We did drywall. We framed it up. We put new lights in. This is the master bedroom. So again, you can see a complete remodel here. We expanded the closet here, put in new lighting up here. And you can see that we did a pathway to the bathroom. This is the kitchen again. This is from the kitchen, another angle from the kind of this space here out here at the bottom is more of a living space. So you had a nice little family room this is a dining room and a kitchen combo. That's nice little combo that gives the illusion that this place is open a lot larger because you have an open footprint there. Now, while I'm looking at this, guys, I'm not able to see chat. So if I'll get back to chat a little bit later on. This is another angle of the kitchen. You see the stainless steel appliances, all new cabinetry. We moved the cabinets back. We have nice stainless steel. We have a hallway system. Now, this closet wasn't even here. So we put in a pantry. Put in a pantry using this wall here on the side. This is the hallway. The bedrooms, these are the smaller bedrooms. This is a 3-bedroom home. Put flooring throughout so that it makes the property looks larger. Fresh paint. This is the bathroom. You can see the tile. Again, you want to not get overboard on what you do because you got to price this home for the area. So you don't want to outprice the area that you're looking to purchase, yet you still want someone to come in and say, wow, for this price point, these are the extras that you're going to get. So we put in, this is all new cabinetry, new toilet, new tub, and new tile. Another angle. Big backyard, brand new AC. So this is what we consider a great entry-level home. And if you can look over time on this area, this is also a super, super important point, is that you want to buy something and you want to get into an area where you have this upward growth. Look at this. Look at this. In 2014, this home was under $50,000, 2014. 2018, 4 years later, we had $141,000. So let's think, if you would have bought this at the low, maybe do not much updates, you at what 50? Let's say 50,000, and in 2018 you at 100. You almost have 100,000 return on that with a $50,000 investment. 100K. So from 2018, like I said, we had let's say 140 to 2020. That's when we had it dipped down in here, but now we still have 164. Again, we bought it. If you would have held it, you bought it from 50. Now you're at 164. But look at the growth over time. Look at the growth. 170, 190, 227. It got a dip here back down at 200,000. We had when the market was at high, this particular property was at 297, and now it's leveling out to where we're selling it for 280. So the area that you're looking at is so important, real, as well. And you don't want to put yourself out there. Again, I bought the house. I bought this property for 97,000 or something like that. We use cash from other investments that we were able to, in this particular situation, we didn't do the finance. I bought it for 97,000, and it took a lot for us to get it there, but basically we're selling it for 280,000. It's been on the market one day. We did a decent job, a really good job for this particular type of home in this particular area. It's been on. I put it on the market yesterday, and we've had 112 views, 73 saves. We had maybe 11 people that showed the property today. So I put it on at like midnight, the beginning of the day, like 1 a.m. yesterday, and today we had all that showing. This is my company. I'm being transparent here. Carmena and Associates Realty Group. I am a broker here in Florida. This is the MLS for the property, and we have in one day, I think we have 2 or 3 offers in on this home. 2 or 3 offers in on this home. So real. That is real life. You know, we're making. Let me see if I can get back to you. We're making roughly maybe a little over 100 on that particular home. So there are opportunities out there, and when you tie into, well, let's go back to that one. So let's say that you only have 4 of those type of properties a year, 1 per quarter. That's an extra $400,000, $300,000+ that you've added to your income. It's another stream of income, and once you get on a team and kind of know what you're doing, you know, it's not that difficult. We did last summer. We did 3 or 4 homes over the summer that were similar. So pulling out homes, pulling out money from your home, if you're part of a team, can be quite lucrative. Only if you buy right and you kind of get some mentoring over how to do the process. But yeah, the average person can do, even if you do one of those type of homes, you're looking at, you know, an extra $50,000, $60,000, $80,000. That's why I love real estate. So that's the real life consequences and opportunities of what we're saying. Again, when we have these CPI reports and this influence what the chair is going to do with respect to how they're going to raise interest rate or lower interest rate, so that they can cool off inflation or not, will determine our opportunity to buy something like this. That's what it is. That's what it's about. And that's the game I want to show you guys. That's the game that we're trying to convey, is that because if you know that this is coming down the line, and if you know that the CPI report is not showing, is showing that we have an inflation, if the CPI report is showing that, and other reports, okay, it's not just that one report, is the CPI, is the core CPI, is a couple other reports that the the Fed and people should look at. Well, if you know that that is constantly trending up on inflation, you know that the Fed chair has a goal of reducing inflation to 2%. So you know his monetary policy. You know he's going to get out there and he's going to raise the interest rate. Now, what does that mean for me? If he raises the interest rate, a couple things. Now my access to capital may be compromised. I may not be able to get the favorable loans. Now, if I'm trying to buy a house, it's going to cost me more and I can afford less of a house. The access, the mortgage spouse saying, well, mortgage spouse said that, well, suppose the access to purchase the home. If everybody's out there buying up homes, then now finding those good deals is going to be, pretty compromised. So all of this is tying into each other. And I'm trying to give you guys game on how to do that. Pretty complicated topic. Do we have any questions? Any questions tonight, guys? All right. Well, as always, I want to thank you guys for coming in. The CPI again is just a report that came out that basically it met expectations. So the stock market did okay. At the closing bell, I think that let me pull it up here. It looks like it was a mixed bag. Let me pull up the latest here. Mixed bag today. We had the Dow down slightly, very slightly, 0.09%. We had the S&P up 0.45%. And then we had the NASDAQ up 1.04%. So Dow is down slightly, and S&P 500 and NASDAQ were both up today. So overall, it was a good day for us. The market responded favorably to the CPI report, which means that now when Chairman Powell comes out, he's going to look at this data, and before he has another report, there's going to be another CPI data, that the report that comes out, he's going to look at these two to see if inflation is going up or inflation is going down, and he's going to base his monetary policy on that. So guys, thank you, Chris. I'm glad that you enjoyed the stream. As always, I am not your financial advisor. I am not your consultant. Always consult with your team, your lawyer, and as always, salute and stay grinding. I'll see you guys tomorrow. What we're gonna do is we're gonna catch up on tomorrow's Thursday. Is the night before we have this debt ceiling, and we're gonna see what both sides are saying about that, and then that's gonna prep us for Friday's report, which is pretty important. Okay, guys. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you, Chris. I appreciate you for showing the brother some love with that $2 spot. I appreciate you, man. You are consistent. I can't tell you how much just coming in and supporting the brother means. And for the Real Provider Network, again, thank you, TJ, for coming by. Anything I can do to help, I appreciate you guys. And always salute, stay grinding. I'll see you tomorrow.